We are in the Maidan Square in the center of Kiev. What is life like in this capital of a war-struck country, a country which has seen so much devastation? I'm going to be speaking to members of the Ukrainian military and also civilians to give you an idea of what life is in Kiev at the moment. Thank you all very much for being with us. It's great to speak to all of you, and my friend Vlad over here as well. Let me come to you first. What is your name?
Nazar.
And Nazar, what have you seen in the last 50 odd days? How has life changed for you personally?
Obviously the life has moved from normal civilian stance to military stance. Most of us, me in particular, we lost our jobs. I mean, we were not fired, but we had to do other things. So I volunteer. I help to supply the armed forces. Yeah. So yeah, basically that's what I do every day. And yeah, basically.
Where were you working before this?
I was working in logistics and supply.
Right.
Yeah, so obviously I do the same now, but for the military.
Right.
Yeah, basically all you do is to support the military
Yeah.
and to support our
Yeah.
defenders. So basically you do this 14 hours a day, every day,
Wow.
7 days a week.
And just in the Kiev area or elsewhere as well?
Yeah, most in the Kyiv area myself, but you know, there are millions of people like me doing similar stuff all over Ukraine.
Sure.
Yeah, I think in most of cases people just move to kind of military race, military economy.
Sure. That's interesting. In fact, that's an interesting point because, you know, we were discussing this earlier on. Civilians and the military have really come together now in Ukraine. You know, there's no difference. You know, before it was the military. They're all working together for a common cause.
Yeah, we have organization of volunteers and veterans of the previous war, the beginning of this war 8 years ago, and part of us are civilians, part of us are military men. We work together to supply other military units, to supply our unit with everything needed, as well as we providing everything needed for the civilians who try to escape from the war. And right now we are standing on this exact place where 8 years ago revolution started, and Russia invaded Ukraine 8 years ago.
And you were injured over here.
Yeah,
you have a grenade injury.
Yeah.
Where were you at that stage? You can point it out actually.
Yeah, this exact street is
Right.
called Institutska, and this is the exact place where snipers were shooting people, and over 100 people were killed by Berkut.
Yeah.
And now we know that among them there were FSB agents,
Yeah.
so Russian agents who
Yeah.
provided all information
Yeah.
and all orders to
Yeah.
kill Ukrainians over here. So the war started eight years ago,
Yeah.
and even before the invasion, Crimea and Donbass, it started right here.
And that's an important point which I think a lot of us forget, that in Ukraine this is not a new war. It's an old war which is continuing.
Владиславович.
That
Что это не новая война, это война, которая длится уже 8 лет против России, то есть это не новая какая-то страница, это то, что происходило раньше, правильно?
Так,
я понимаю?
звичайно, це війна, яка триває вже 8 років, і власне тут були на цьому місці є перші такі масові жертви, коли десятки людей загинули в боротьбі саме з Росією, саме з Путіним за те, щоб Україна могла вільно і демократично розвиватися. А зараз це все переросло в таку надзвичайно брутальну гарячу стадію.
yeah.
So 8 years ago it was started here in that place, and the first victims of this war was here in that place.
Right.
So and now it's just like a, you know, like a
Continuation.
like
Hot
a
period of this
hot
war.
period of this war, but it started here in this place. First victims was here,
Right.
and it was started 8 years ago. So just like a
Mass victims.
Yeah, mass victims. And let me ask you this. There is so much uncertainty right now. And a lot of people would say that, look, you know, the Russians have gone away from the Kiev area. But in fact, the war is not over, not at all. So do you feel that this is a lull before the storm, a pause before the real storm?
Like you mean that
In the Donbass area, they will keep fighting again very hard.
yeah, for sure, our people felt it and ourselves that was before the full-scale invasion, like they felt it on their skin in Kiev now.
Yeah.
But this war took a place during 8 years already, and right now Russians was destroyed in Kiev region, but like we still feel the smell of the war here. You can see the checkpoints everywhere, soldiers with rifles.
And where did you work, or what were you doing before this started?
In peace times, I was a music composer and work as like film composer. And when war came real, I started to be a volunteer. Yes, and I stayed in Kiev and helped as well.
How has the life of your family changed after the war began?
Okay, my family now lives in different country and
In Poland or
no, Turkey.
In Turkey, right?
Yeah, Turkey maybe not the best country for Ukrainian, but okay. But okay anyway. And exactly, it's difficult. It's difficult to.
It must be so difficult for you.
For me, it's
you're
exactly.
fighting over here, and your family is
For me,
away.
exactly,
You
it
don't know
was.
when you're
For
gonna
me, it's
see them.
exactly was really difficult solution to go to battalions because. I'm not a soldier, I'm not professional soldier, and it was really difficult.
So you aren't a professional soldier, you decided to come here to fight.
Yes.
And when did you come? When did you come?
Kharkiv.
No, to this...
Beginning of March.
In the beginning of March.
Beginning of
You
March.
came in the beginning of March.
Yeah.
You're from Ukraine, from Kharkiv
Kharkiv,
itself.
yeah.
But you decided to join the army. And
Yes.
why did you want to do that? Because
Come-
you aren't a
c-
trained soldier. So-
Come on, it's my country, it's war, and I must do it. Anyway, because if I don't do it, my sons will have the same problem. Anyway,
How many sons do you have?
2.
2 sons? That's also so interesting that again, you've got volunteers involved in so many different ways. He's not a soldier, but he's become a soldier right now. Could you tell us a little bit about how in this situation, everybody in Ukraine is coming together to contribute one way or the other?
Сейчас в это время все в Украине объединены вокруг одной цели, чтобы победить в этой войне, и военной, и гражданской. Что ты об этом думаешь?
Так як 24 лютого почалась друга фаза війни, бо перша фаза почалась ще в часи Майдану в 2014 році.
As on 24 of February started the second part of this war, because the first part was started here in that place 8 years ago, when the revolution started, and were first people were killed, first men. So.
То зараз у цивільного населення майже нема можливості залишитись якось в стороні від цієї події, і потрібно як можна більше допомагати армії, допомагати волонтерам і якось наближати перемогу.
So the civilians have no another way just to be involved in this process and help maximum as they can to help the army, to help the militaries, to beat the Russian troops. So civilians have nothing to do anymore. They just do what they need to do.
Let me come across to you and ask you a question, because as a civilian myself, this is what really affected me, really hurt me. I was in Lviv before I came over here, and there were people from Kharkiv, from Sumy, from Chernobyl moving away to Poland. Young children, wives, older people, their husbands, their brothers, their fathers staying on in Ukraine. So for me, the most difficult story was families being divided. Is that also something that affects you personally, or something that affects your friends?
много людей из Харькова, из других мест, где идут активные боевые действия, это Сум, из Чернобыля и так далее, из Киевского региона. Их дети, они вынуждены были, много людей, уехать в Польшу, в другие места, и дети, и их жены, и так далее, и так далее. И его больше всего волнует, взволновало именно вот это, вот, когда семьи вынуждены быть разлучены. Да? Есть ли что-то для тебя, что максимально тронуло тебя, вот, что принесла война в жизни обычных людей в Украине?
Моя жена сейчас в Польше, сама с собакой. Ее мать с братом во Львове, с Киева выехали.
So his wife with her mother in Lviv now, in Poland, and with a dog, and another his родители.
Теща.
And his wife with a dog in Poland, and the mother of his wife in Lviv now.
Okay.
А моя мать, моя сестра, племянница и отец, они находятся в Херсоне, который сейчас оккупированный.
Oh, his father and his mother and also his nephew is now in Kherson, which is occupied now.
Yes. So how do you communicate with them? Are you able to call them?
Да, пока да. Иногда пропадает связь, но пока еще есть интернет, то есть возможность. Они прячутся, ну и ждут, что может быть.
So they are hiding now in Kherson, and they also have the internet, so time to time he can call them.
Yeah.
I have to say something about this. I have 1-year-old son, and just after the invasion they moved with my wife to Poland. Now currently they are moving to the Great Britain, and my son just started to walk after the invasion, so I just passed this moment. And he started
You never saw him walk for the first time as a father?
Yeah, he just started to walk, and I've seen just first steps, and he started to walk like normal walk just now, and just now he started to talk. So I just skipped this moment. So I'll never forget this, and I'll never forget that Russians took away this moment from me. So this is personal for all of us. Our families are divided all over the country, all over the world, and this is very painful for us.
Well, I'd like to thank you all very much for speaking to us. It's been great getting an idea from all of the individuals over here about how difficult life is, but they're committed to the cause of Ukraine, and there isn't a moment when any of them seem to suggest anything but the need to keep on fighting in this situation. As difficult as it may be, they're separated from their families, from their friends, and they're civilian, they're military, but they're all together. That is the spirit that one sees in Ukraine, which is really behind the military effort, which has seen the defeat of the Russians, at least in this part of the country. With Ashok Mahale, Vishnu Shom for NDTV.